Oh, I just came from church. I wound up, crying, um, because they was on a topic of basically the world getting to you. The world can get to you. Um, and when the world does, you know, just forgive yourself that's because we can get sucked in. We can get sucked in. We can walk on this path of righteousness, but when a world interferes, the world will tend to interfere. And the devil works um through the world. And the fact that we are in the world and we are constantly, being tempted over and over and over again, you know. And we just have to forgive ourselves. If no one else forgives us, God forgives us. And because God forgives us, then we can forgive ourselves. So, yeah, it was just like a really touchy subject. And yeah, it's just, it was really touchy for me, you know. Um, They also talked about how, using parables, they used a lot of parables about the tree and the seed. And sometimes this is where you have to use discernment because um, discernment between, is this God's seed or is this the devil's seed, that I'm nurturing and that I'm, feeding and encouraging to grow. Which seed is it? And sometimes we just don't know. We don't know whether or not this is God's seeds or this is the devil's seed. And we just need to take time to really reflect and choose wisely, you know, figure it out and just think, how does this moment make me feel? Before you encourage the devil's hand or the devil's decision or the devil's seed that planted in you, before I act on this, it's all about reacting. So before I react on this thought or this idea, knowing that this idea can be the devil's, or this idea can be of God. But to have discernment, you have to take time to really reflect and, choose wisely, you know, um, reflect on any action. Before I take this action, will this make me feel good in the end? Will this make me, feel guilty? Question your why. Sometimes the devil can work in ways to make it seem, you know, childish, or um ignorant, because and that's kind of like encouraging our childlike um spirit, you know, like something you will laugh at in the end, but then later on you're like, oh, maybe that really hurt that person, you know. So instead of laughing, I mean, so if it tickles you a little bit inside, but at the same time, it may hurt the other person. So you got to kind of put yourself in their shoes and think, it may be funny in a moment, but how would this impact me later on? You know, this person can come to me crying and feeling a certain way about how this made me feel. And in that moment, you're just reflecting, like, oh, no, I laughed at that. But is it serious for them? What you're laughing at could be serious for someone else. Just like I was about to tap into this video, and this video said, why are men with little wieners so mean? And I'm just like, wow, but it's really a serious topic because it's just like they're mean because of how others made them feel. We all grown here. A lot of women is like, If it ain't this size, then I ain't going towards it. A lot of men was discriminated against for having a little penis. Why? Well, because a lot of people know that a person with a little penis, I ain't giving you my time of day. You gotta come with the package. And if you don't come with the package, I already know I'm not going to be satisfied. You ain't pleasing nobody over here. So just, people don't give men with little penises a chance just because their penis is small. But you don't know if this person's penis is small for a certain reason. He may be struggling in one area or another. He may have like a birth defect. He may be, it may be something medical, you know, and at the same time, and that's why I really don't judge nobody based off the size of their, you know, penis. Um, just because that's not what satisfies me. What makes me happy or what makes me feel a certain way about you is more so of your character. Being spiritually intact, it brings this out of you. I'm not just looking at the physical. I'm looking for more, you know, and that's that's what spirituality is all about. You know, the fact that this person has a little penis doesn't mean don't they won't satisfy you, because it's about their personality. What all do they bring to the table? You know, this vibe, my vibe, and your vibe, and then intimacy. It's more than just the penis. It's more about the feeling. It's more about all that we, attain um during the little moments that we share together. It's about the conversation. It's about me getting to know your mind and you getting to know my mind. It's about you getting to know my physical life and where I'm at, and me getting to know you spiritually. Where are you at with God? You know, this all matters, and when this matters, it's just like the physical becomes less, you know, intriguing. It's like we come together and we just make magic. We make that feeling. You got to give yourselves a chance and give these people a chance, because just because it seemed that way back in the day, they was like, they was more pressed about the physical. But the physical is not where it's at. It's more about the full package, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Who are you? How are you? You know, let me experience you from within rather than without, you know? So that's just a little example of, you know, um, dang, what was I talking? That's just a little example of how I feel about, judgment, or how, um, yeah, about people judging other people and making them feel a certain way. I was basically on the topic of, you being ignorant or being childish towards a situation that may be serious. And that's how I got to the topic about how this person struggling with maybe a birth defect, or maybe, just not being as, you know, progressive in one area as another is. It can be more serious than it seems. So, like I said, of course, this person is going to be mean because of how the world makes you feel about yourself. The world is so judgmental. The world, if you don't look like this, you're not like this, then, you know, you're going to be perceived in a certain way. And it's just like, it's hard for somebody to come out of their shell when they're constantly being judged, constantly being, looked at as others, seeing through one lens than the other. There's two lenses. In glasses, there's two lenses. You don't just focus on one lens, you look out the other too. It's two lenses. One lens is the world, what the world perceives or how the world, you know, is reflected. But the other lens, let that be your mind. Let that be your judgment. Let that be based on how you feel rather than how everyone else feels. You know, and today was there was like a ladies council, and they was also talking about that. You know, it was like a ladies. It was all women, and we were all just speaking about how judgmental the world is. You know, there was this one woman who was like, you know, you can't judge. You can't sit in a judgment seat while being righteous at the same time. And I kind of did. I kind of disagree. I'm like, well, that's God. You know, God is the only one that can sit righteously and judge. You know, God has that power. We may not have that power. And then there was another woman I kind of disagreed with because she was like, you know, just think how God will feel. If you're that frustrated, think about how frustrated God will be. And I was like, well, that's where you kind of, you separate the two because for one, God is not us. God only understands us through his son, you know, through his son whom he sacrificed. God, that's the only way God no, can understand us because God knows how humans are. And she was basically comparing God to being human. She was like, well, God's human too. He knows. I'm like, well, hold up, hold up. I wanted to speak up, but at the same time, I was just listening to everybody's perspective. I'm like, no, that's where you got it wrong. That's where you got it wrong. No, God knows human, but that does not make God human. We are human, and that's why we are separated because God, there's the Son of God, and then there's man, you know? Like, what you really talking about? And I'm like, nope, you got me right there. I'm gonna have to, step off board when you just said that because, if you see me, if like imagine if I'm God, like you see me, you supposed to be worshiping me, but you see me as the next human besides you. What makes me any different? You can easily go ahead and worship this person, and um treat this person as you would treat me. How would that make you feel? How would that make God feel to know that you're basically comparing God to a human, you know? So that's where you kind of gotta just hold your tongue and listen for a second. But that's where I was at. I'm just like, what? So yeah, that's what this was all today's sermon was basically about having discernment between the two. God's seed and the devil's seed. What are you nurturing? What are you encouraging? Take time, sit back, reflect on the moment before you react, before you give that action. Action has, with every action, there's a reaction. So think about that reaction before you take that action and just really sit because, like I said, like they said, the world will get to you. And when the world gets to you, God can get you through. God will get you through when the world gets to you, especially if you are one of God's children, you are one of God's chosen ones. God will not allow the devil to win, or God will not allow the devil to touch you or get over on you. Just as Jesus, when the world got to Jesus, you know, Jesus was always turning to God, and God always helped Jesus, counseled Jesus, taught Jesus how to handle these people. So allow God to handle your situation and whatever you're going through. And if you're in the trial, you're in a point where, you can't, it's hard to tell discernment, and that's kind of where it got me because I'm just like, wow, he is speaking to me right now because it's like I was just like I'm really that's where I'm at in my life overall. It's just telling the difference, being able to tell the difference. That's where I was at once upon a time, and sometimes it just resurfaces. What is the difference? Who's calling me? You know, is it God calling me or is it the world calling me? It's easy. It's kind of sometimes it's easy to tell the difference, but sometimes it's not because we are in the world, you know, so it's hard to know, you know, who's speaking when they're speaking. So yeah, I just wanted to share my little this moment and just getting from church. I gotta clean up, gotta get dinner ready, gotta eat my lunch. We had breakfast this morning, so we was really, we was good. So yeah, it's about lunchtime. I'm hungry. I'm about to eat. And yeah, that was my after church recap with y'all. And, you know, just something to think about. Like, comment, subscribe, be notified, share at your own free will to show you care. Bye.